What's going on, everybody? It is Hunter here, and today we're going to be going over our top 25 for weeks 8 through 9. We had a lot of changes here, so let's get into it here. Alright, so as you guys can see, some of the changes right off the bat if you guys watched last week's video, but let's go over this real fast here. Okay, so the honorable mentions, we got Coastal Carolina. They got beat. I still think they're in that top 30 range, just not top 25. NC State, they also got beat. Something about those 18 spot teams that always get beat. As NC State was able to continue that streak by losing. And this right down here, that's BYU. It's hard to tell. It kind of got messed up when I made this, but that is BYU. Coming down to number 25, we actually have a new team with a new appearance, and that's the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. This team has one loss, and their one loss was coming to Texas. That's not a bad one loss. Where Coastal Carolina's one loss is App State, which is a worse loss in Texas. Still not a bad loss. App State's a good team, just not no Texas. Number 24 is Arkansas. They have made improvements. They keep winning, and as long as they keep winning, they're going to keep moving up, even with their 2 losses. Number 23 is Iowa State. They're finally starting to look like the team we expected them to in the preseason. Still not up to caliber, but they got a good win against Oklahoma State, and that puts them back into the top 25 in my opinion. Number 22, UTSA. They're going to probably stay in this 20 range just because they don't play nobody, but they're still undefeated, still a pretty good team. They actually beat a team that they were not supposed to beat this past weekend. They were actually the underdogs in that game, and they won. So good win for UTSA. Number 21 is Texas A&M. They got the big win against Alabama. That's put them here. 2 losses ain't bad. They keep winning. They'll keep moving up. Number 20, San Diego State. This team's also still undefeated, but they're kind of in that UTSA range, just not as bad, where they just can't make any moves. Number 19 is SMU. They're also undefeated, probably the top team to challenge Cincinnati now, and actually have a real shot to beat them as they've looked pretty decently good. SMU has. Number 18 is Penn State. Penn State took a weird L against Illinois at home in overtime, big overtime. Not a good look for Penn State. That's not a good look at all, actually. And I feel bad for Penn State fans, as this team looked really good 2 weeks ago, and now they look really weird. That Illinois game that Iowa game kind of set this team off on the wrong foot, and it's just odd team there in Penn State. Number 17 is Pitt. Pitt picked up a pretty good win against Clemson this past week. Their offense looks really good. Their quarterback, Kenny Pickett or whatever his name is, God, he looks good. He could be the Heisman, at least top 3, in my opinion. Pitt's probably going to, in my opinion, they're my favorites to win the ACC, besides with the exception of one team we'll get to here in a minute. Number 16 is Baylor. People have kind of gave up on Baylor now that they've lost that one game, but they're still chucking. They're still going through teams. One loss, it's still all in front of them. They can win out, and could be in the college football playoff talk if they win out, obviously. Chance of them winning out obviously are low, but being in the Big 12, the only teams that look like they could really challenge them are Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Oklahoma. Really, that's it. So, I mean, I still like this Baylor team. Number 15 is Auburn. They keep winning. They've had some weird games like the Georgia State or Southern, whichever team that was, game. But besides that, Auburn's looked decently pretty good. And they're at 15 for me. I think they got, one loss maybe 2. I'm not 100% sure. But they've looked pretty good overall. Number 14 is Wake Forest. They are still undefeated. They had a crazy game against Army this past week. But they are still undefeated, and if Pitt is not going to be the team that wins the ACC, I think it'll definitely be Wake Forest here undefeated. I think Wake Forest has defensive issues, though, and I think they need to get those figured out. In my opinion, the SEC version of the Wake Forest, so just a big, better, and upgraded version, is number 13, Ole Miss. They got one loss coming to Alabama, even though they got smoked in that game. They still look really good, and their counterparts are Kentucky, which I have at 12. And the reason why I have Kentucky more than Ole Miss, because Kentucky's loss against Georgia, Ole Miss is against Alabama, and the Georgia loss is better than the Alabama one. So that's why they're 12 and not 13, and they're not flip-flopped. Number 11 to Oklahoma State. This team just lost to Iowa State. The only reason I didn't move them down so much is it was on the road. Iowa State's a good football team. Iowa State played their best game of the year. It happens. I still think Oklahoma State's still good, and they can definitely beat Oklahoma or whoever they need to beat next week and improve. Number 10 is Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. They could easily go 11-1. I think that'd be their record, right? They could easily go 11-1. And I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but they could be in that discussion. Probably won't make it. They'll have a New Year's Six Bowl, I would say. Still a very good football team everyone slept on, which makes Cincinnati's win look a lot better. Number 9 is Michigan State. I'm still not high on Michigan State, even though they're undefeated. They're a very weird football team. But they get their chance. They get to host Michigan. They beat them, in my opinion. Whoever comes out of the Michigan State game is legit, in my opinion. Number 8 is Iowa. This team is super inconsistent. One week they'll blow out a team. That's what they won't. I think this past week they might have a bye. I'm not 100% sure. It's weird because this team has 2 losses if Sean Clifford doesn't probably go out of the game against Penn State, which is weird to say. Saying because we're comparing the 8 to the 18 team. That's a 10-spot difference. But they won. I can't move them down for losing because we still don't know how that game would have went. So, as of right now, I was 8. But I think time will show them as frauds, unlike I thought they were at the beginning of the year. Or at the beginning of the season. Number 7 is Oregon. This team just picked up a really good win against UCLA. It started off a little rocky, but they won. So now that one loss is saying, hey, we still have a chance to make the playoffs, is practically what Oregon's saying. You guys tell me in the comments, you think a Pac-12 champion with 1 loss makes the playoffs? Hard to say. Number 6 is Ohio State, and I've been saying this. They are still my favorites to win the Big Ten, and they are starting to look like it now. They look better than Michigan and Michigan State. But I have them at 6 just because Michigan's undefeated, and they've looked just as good as Ohio State. So, and that brings me to my 5 team, Michigan. I've talked about them a little bit already. Really good team. Their run game is really good, and whenever they do need to throw the ball, they can. And their defense is super good as well, elite. Number 4 is Alabama. Alabama has been a team that's like, they've looked really good. I mean, obviously, they're the Alabama team that we know, but just not up to expectations yet. They've kind of let us down in a weird way. Losing to Texas A&M was a game we didn't think they should lose. And Tennessee played them pretty good this weekend before things got out of hand late in the 4th quarter. So, Alabama's not the best team as we think they are. Yeah. I still think they're really good. Really, really good. I think they'll miss the playoffs, though. Number 3 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma keeps squeaking by with wins. They struggled against Kansas this past week, man. It's hard to beat Oklahoma right now, to be honest with you. The only reason I have them as 3 is just because I think the potential is still there, but they really haven't earned that 3 spot. Really, realistically, they could be like 8 or 9 right now. Number 2, Cincinnati. They struggled in the first half, but in the second half, they ended up blowing them out. I still think this is... I know a lot of people say Georgia and Alabama's top 2 teams. I think it's Georgia and Cincinnati. I know they're ranked there. I think Cincinnati is the second best team in the country, but, we'll get there later. Number 1 is Georgia Bulldogs, and I think it's 1 space 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just think Georgia's that good. I think they'll beat Alabama in the SEC championship this year, and that leads me to my playoff predictions, which I'll let you guys know. I told you guys last time I'd have a slide or something, like a little thing I could bring on the screen for you guys to see my playoff predictions. I don't. I apologize. Hopefully I'll have that next week, but I'll go and tell you what I got. 1, I think Georgia will be the 1 seed. The 2 seed, I think, will end up being probably Oklahoma, as I think with a championship, they'll end up passing them up probably. I think 3 will probably be... I think 3 will probably be Cincinnati, since they'll be undefeated. I think they'll stay. I think 4 will be Ohio State with a 1-loss Big Ten champion. Right, and then I think... I think Georgia will play Ohio State. I think Georgia will win. And Cincinnati will play Oklahoma. I think Cincinnati will win. And then Georgia versus Cincinnati in the national championship. I think it's Georgia by like 2 touchdowns. And that is my final prediction as of right now. It'll change every week, but that's what I got right now. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like and comment. Go check out my TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, all at boogie_sports_. And I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching this video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.